Welcome to today's webinar, Win with Social Media This Giving Season. My name is Chelsea and I am one of your co-hosts. We are excited to have you here with us today to join us for this very popular and relevant topic. Our speaker today is one of our very own, Josh Koshorik, Director of Marketing here at 5Q and Journity. Josh is well versed when it comes to social media strategy and tactics as well as advertising. But before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping things to keep in mind. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please just go ahead and feel free to stick those in either the Q&A section or the chat box. We'll be answering all the questions at the end of the webinar. And lastly, this webinar will be recorded and sent to you through an email following the webinar today. So if you like what you hear, if you enjoy the information that we're giving to you, if it's something you think you and your team can use either in your 2019 planning or here in the final month of 2018, we encourage you to share it with your colleagues. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Josh.
Thanks, Chelsea. I'm excited about our topic today, and I'm excited that all of you are here today. I know that with year-end only a couple weeks away, there's probably a million things on your to-do list, and so I really hope that I can add value today and make this worthwhile for you. The topic we are covering is winning with social media for the giving season, and our goal is really to give you some short-term tactics that you might be able to implement today that can boost your current campaigns that are running, as well as give you some ideas to lay the groundwork for longer-term strategy for the coming year. And then also we have some fun case studies to get you excited about the potential of social media and some ways that you can use it more heavily and more effectively. So what we're going to cover is what social platforms are best for your goals, the best practices and creative ways to engage on different social networks, as well as some examples from around the web that we found of great case studies that just highlight the potential of social media for growing your organization. So the first question, of course, is why social media? And a few reasons are it'll help with brand awareness, engage your current supporters, even in digital. Giving is all about relationships, and having social media contact just allows you to deepen those relationships with your current supporters and also drive hype for your current campaigns. You can also share success in real time, which is critical for helping people get on board with your goals. And then you can turn new supporters into longtime partners, get them excited about what you're doing and where you're going, and get them on board. So as mentioned, social media gives the ability to speak directly to supporters on platforms that they use daily. 71% of all internet users are on Facebook. So there's a very good chance that if somebody is already supporting your organization, they are there and they're there regularly, most likely daily. In 2017, surveys of nonprofits have found that they increased their following by 44% over the last year. And one of the rising stars is Instagram, where nonprofits are seeing large growth and really higher engagement rates. So that's one to look at for the coming year if you're not already on there. 38% of the audiences reached were not already following the nonprofit. So you can see that that is a big opportunity to expand your reach, to get your supporters to share with their communities and really get your brand awareness out there. So it accomplishes two important goals. One is build relationships, and that is, we already mentioned that is a critical aspect, especially in a digital world where you might feel disconnected, as well as expand your audiences. And that is expanding your brand awareness and your reach. Also, social media is easy, it's accessible, you can access it on your phone, wherever you are, and it's free to engage and to interact. So how do you determine the best platform? And that depends on a few things. The questions that you should be asking yourself are, how much time do I have to devote to social media? Because there are a wide range of channels and sites that you can use. And so narrowing down how much time you have to invest will help you to know how many sites you can concentrate on. And is it better to do one really well, or to try to multitask there? What are your campaign goals and objectives? People interact on different social media sites in different ways. And so knowing your goals and your objectives makes it easier to determine which site you should end up on and which site you should spend your time on. What do you want to accomplish through social media? This is on a campaign level as well as on an individual content piece. So as you post, you should have a purpose behind that post, and the purpose should go well beyond just posting for posting's sake. So, what do you want to accomplish? How do you want people to engage with this specific piece of content? And what type of connection are you looking to build with that? What types of content are you going to produce? Do you have a design team in-house that can produce graphics for social media? Do you have the ability to do video or live stream, as well as photography, that type of thing? The actual format of the content is going to help you determine where you should be placing that content. And then doing your research and finding out which sites your audience already engages on. So you can look through groups, you can look through hashtags, other connections, and just see where people are already looking for you and talking about your organization or your cause. At this point, I also want to mention that it's important to get your brand narrative set. And we did a webinar. Our friend Gil presented that and did a real deep dive into what parts build a brand narrative to make it effective and to convert people into donors. And that starts with impact stories, that then moves on to how it actually happens, how you have that impact, along with the quantity of the impact, your numerical significance, and finally how the donors help make it happen. Because it's really important, as you're engaging people, that you're bringing them along with you. It's not just that they're supporting your mission, but it's their mission as well, and they're on board and partnering with you. You can post. Facebook is obviously the biggest one out there at the moment. And if you can only concentrate on one, I'd highly recommend looking at Facebook. That has a broad reach and a large audience, as well as lots of tools for collecting donations and fundraising built right into it. Twitter is a real-time platform that allows you to engage, and it's really about engaging in the moment. So if you have the ability to watch that and interact with people, that can also be a powerful platform. Instagram, as we mentioned earlier, is kind of a rising star. They are owned by Facebook, so you get some synergy there, but also it has the ability to drive a lot of engagement with a focus on imagery and live video. Now, you also have YouTube, LinkedIn, and Pinterest, which have the ability to drive a lot of traffic if you are in the right niche. They're a little less mainstream. So focusing on the big three as a start, if you have limited resources, is a good way to go. It's also critical to note here that your social strategy needs to be integrated with the bigger plan, the bigger part of your campaign. So we talk about the 5 stages of donor engagement here at 5Q, where you lead visitors who are hearing about your organization for the very first time, all the way through the process to where they become supporters and ultimately partners in your organization, whether that's recurring donations or being an advocate and promoting out your campaigns. And as you can see, social media is woven throughout this process, but it's also only one element. So it's important as you build your campaign to be aware of what other campaigns you're working on and how they can all work together to produce the most impact. Best practices. At this point, you might be thinking that we're a small organization, we have limited resources, we have limited time. This all sounds great, but how are we going to implement it? This is really where the rubber meets the road, and I'm going to give you some tips that will help you manage your campaigns most time efficiently, and some ideas as to how to work that in. So the first is to utilize technology. And there's a lot of technology that allows you to manage multiple channels. Tools such as Hootsuite allow you to schedule posts in advance. So as you work out your campaign calendar, you can get things set up and ready to go ahead of time. Other tools like Feedly or Nuzzle actually help you curate content so you can track topics or hashtags that are relevant to you and relevant to your cause, and it will automatically send you content recommendations that are popular or trustworthy that you might be able to use to keep your content fresh and also connect with other people within your community. Looking at tagging hashtags and influencers. Hashtags are really important, especially on Twitter, but also Instagram. And on Twitter, you can actually create saved searches as a tip. And that will allow you to look at the hashtags that are most important and be able to see what's happening with them, in real time. Also, beyond the latest tweets about it, you can also look at people. And that's a great source for finding other people that have influence within your community and that are consistently talking about the topics that you talk about and that relate to your cause. So you can possibly reach out to them individually and get them to help boost your campaign. And that again comes down to you have a broader network, but you also have those one-on-one personal relationships, and that gives you an opportunity to build those relationships with the people that are in your community. Another pro tip is to look at the trending topics and look at those that are related to you and then engage in real time. If there's a trending hashtag or something like that, that gives you more exposure because a lot of people might not be watching you in particular, but they are watching these trending topics. So that's a way to get yourself in front of an engaged audience and a wider range of people. Another quick tip is to polish your profile. So this is one that often gets overlooked and that you can implement really today, and that is your profile. If you're running a big campaign, promote the link in your campaign, talk about the profile. If you can build a header image for your profile or modify your avatar to call out the campaign, even better, because this is especially important for new users that might not be familiar with your brand. The first thing that they're going to do is they're going to check out your profile and see what you're about and see what you're doing. So having those campaigns featured in your profile instead of just a generic message are a great way to drive engagement with those specific campaigns with new users. You also want to remember to post frequently. And this is one that people get kind of stuck on a lot, is worrying that they're posting too much and might come off as spam. And you'll notice that you'll remember that these are kind of real-time networks. So people are following hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people, and messages fly through their news feed at a pretty fast rate. So if you're only posting once a day or twice a day, there's a good chance that a large portion of your audience is not seeing it. So you can post a whole lot more than you think, because people aren't just looking at your feed specifically, they're seeing it come up in their feed, which is mixed with a lot of other organizations. And then mixing up the content type, particularly images and video, as well as live streaming. So Facebook Live and Instagram Stories are really a big trend recently. And they're really able to drive a considerable amount of engagement. And the nice thing about those is they expect you to be, using your phone, and it's live. So it's not intended to be polished. You don't need a big script or anything like that. Really, if somebody in your organization has a smartphone, you can, run live videos. This comes back to the purpose. You want to make sure that there's a clear path to donate. So you should be giving updates in real time. This is important that you have a goal in mind and you have that goal published somewhere that you're looking to raise, or if you have a matching grant, that you're looking to match. And that can help people see how far away from the goal you are and how much more you have to go. And that really gets people excited, especially when it gets close. They want to be the one that pushes you over the edge. So giving regular updates, posting behind the scenes videos is a great way to show people a different perspective on your organization. So for example, if you're a rescue mission and you're feeding 2,000 people Christmas dinner, what goes into that? What does that look like? Giving people a sneak peek into your world gives people a new appreciation, a new perspective, and a deeper connection to your organization. And then also sharing success stories and impact stories are a great way to appeal to people's emotions and show them, what your cause is all about and the result that partnering with you will lead to. Post inspirational and fun content. This includes getting your supporters, if they are able to create content, post about that they donated to you, or post about that you're running a campaign, highlighting them, thanking them, and showing other people how to get involved is a great way, so that you can onboard ambassadors and other people that will continue to promote you out. But most importantly, with this, with the live video, with the content that you're creating, making it fun and showing that your organization has a unique personality is a critical point. Really, your energy is contagious. So if you're not having fun, people aren't going to be having fun with this campaign. You need to be showing off that you're having a good time and excited about it, and that excitement will spread. Another time-saving technique is called the COPE method, and that stands for create once and publish everywhere. Tools that we mentioned like Hootsuite allow you to manage multiple channels from one dashboard. And really, once you create a specific design, it's often very easy to then modify it to different dimensions so that it'll fit the different platforms. And this is an example, this picture is an example from Facebook that shows off how the different aspect ratios and the recommended aspect ratios of images will look on your phone, essentially. And each social media site has recommended post sizes and standard templates that they recommend for optimization. I highly recommend that you keep a cheat sheet of each of the platforms that you're using handy, and that just makes it really fast to create the most optimized and best images to provide the best experience for your audience. Another tip here that's kind of a little more advanced, but not too difficult to implement, is looking at the Open Graph meta tags. A lot of people aren't aware of these, but they actually allow you to set specific images for Facebook and for Twitter and like that are of the right dimensions. so that when people share your content, Facebook will actually pull that image that you designed specifically for Facebook into the link, and it'll make sure nothing gets cut off and all the important content is visible, and just make that post look nice and professional without any additional work on your part. All right, this engaging your team is a very critical point that often gets overlooked. And this goes back to having the energy behind it, getting your team excited. We recommend that you start promoting it to your team early so that they know what's going on, know what's coming up. But we also want to give them opportunities to actually engage and to share out on their social media profiles, their personal profiles, and their friends that they're already engaging with. And this can also include things like, having monitors set up that show when you go live so that everybody in the office can see it, or offering, custom campaign specific backgrounds for your phone, wallpapers for your phone. This is something that people don't invest a lot of time in and don't invest a lot of energy in, but the reward pays off significantly. And that would be, you would be including your staff, your leaders, your board of directors. They might have a strong network that you're not even tapping into just because they don't know that you need them to. And then your volunteers, including them, giving them a sneak peek of what's coming up, helps to solidify that they're actually insiders and they are a part of the team, even though they're not paid staff. They're working and helping your cause, and gives them an opportunity to promote beyond what they're already doing. All right, so for this last little bit, we have kind of scoured the web and looked up, who's doing cutting edge stuff with social media, what are the best case studies here, and kind of stepped outside of our bubble and wanted to share them with you to get you excited about the possibilities that social media offers and get you ready to actually dig in and start building some of these campaigns. So the first case study is Help One Now. They started a family empowerment day in May, and that's not usually, that's not like a Giving Tuesday or that type of thing, but they ran it like a big Giving Tuesday campaign, and they tapped into several social networks. They emphasized live streaming, so Instagram live stories, and they also did a really strong job of marketing it into their internal team, and they saw great results. They exceeded their goal of $200,000, which is a great feat for that time of year for a specific day, a specific campaign. That's not a bigger national campaign like Giving Tuesday. Charity Water, this focuses on video, and they also did paid ads with this. So this would be paid advertising, but building custom audiences and lookalike audiences helped them to drive a recurring annual revenue from Facebook of almost $500,000. So that just shows you, the power and the targeting ability to reach the right audience that social media offers. The Girl Scouts, they found that people wanted their cookies, but could not always find somebody who was selling their cookies. So they have this app that allows you to find your local representative that's selling cookies, and they use Twitter to promote it. And as you can see, they got over 19,000 people to install the apps, which then drove engagement through the app where people could buy cookies and raise funds. And that's just an example of an additional way that you can use social media. Rather than making a direct ask, you can funnel people into your broader network and your broader campaign, which is what we talked about, having a fully integrated social strategy. Purdue also used social media to tap into their alumni network, and to also, as you can see, encourage people and thank them for their support. You can see they raised a significant amount and are promoting it out on Twitter, thanking everybody for giving. So one thing, we covered a lot of ground here. And one thing, if there's one message that I'd like you to walk away with, that's be consistent over time. A lot of people look at this chart. This chart is pulled from a book called Atomic Habits, which talks about creating positive habits and the compounding effect of positive habits over time. A lot of people think social media is a linear campaign. So 1 tweet equals 5 followers, 2 tweets must equal 10 followers type thing. But that's not actually how it works. When you don't have an audience, you really have to put in the work over time, and you'll see that grow, but you won't necessarily see results right away. And that's why it's important to think of it as a long-term strategy. Eventually you will hit your critical mass and you'll see that your results shoot up seemingly overnight, but you know that the hard work went in beforehand. So I really can encourage you to be consistent with it. A big sticking point that I see is everybody's busy in social media or in nonprofit organizations. And so oftentimes they'll be excited about a campaign and they'll get their social media in place, and then it'll drop off afterwards until the next campaign. And they just don't see the results that they're looking for. And that's because social media is a long-term strategy that does develop over time, and you want your audience to be engaged at the time of the campaign. And so you have to put in the work ahead of time. All right, thank you. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Josh. That was very helpful information. We have a couple questions here for you. And if you guys have any questions, any of the panelists, feel free to drop them in either the Q&A box or in the comment section, and we will get to those after we answer these questions. First question for you, Josh, is with limited resources and time, given year end is in full swing right now, what's one thing you would recommend that we could do on our social platform?
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend updating your profile to promote your links, your campaigns across the profile. That would be, dropping that link in your profile description on Twitter and Facebook and wherever else you're engaging, as well as, if you have the resources, creating, background images and header images, so that when people do visit your profile to learn more about you, they'll see that you have this campaign going on, they'll get excited about it and hopefully get on board. And even if they don't donate this time because they're brand new, they will likely follow you and engage with you. And then that will lead down the road to a larger, more engaged audience.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, another question here, Josh, is I've seen a lot of examples of how people use Instagram for a business. Any ideas of how we can use Instagram day to day as year end approaches?
Yes. So Instagram live stories, if you have behind the scenes type things that you can get, you can make announcements of what's coming up, how close you are to your goal, and that type of thing. That live gets people excited. That gets them to interact, and it allows them to interact kind of in a more personal, real-time way. Mm-hmm. So I would highly recommend, starting there and going, depending on your resources. You might also invite people in who have impact stories to share their stories, if you have the ability and time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea. One recommendation I would share too with our audience is, if there are nonprofits that you enjoy following, definitely follow them on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, see what they're doing. A lot of times we learn by watching what other companies or what other nonprofits are doing, and it just inspires us to go out and to try new things on those social platforms. So don't be hesitant to follow your favorite nonprofits and try and spark some creativity based on how they're using the social platforms to engage their audience. Okay, Josh, with that, let me see here. I don't see any other questions. I think that's it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all so much again for joining us. I hope that you have some nice tips that you can take away and start implementing immediately. We would like to offer you a 30-minute consultation if you have an interest in developing your strategy for 2019, or if you just have some questions and want to bounce some ideas off me or some other people in our staff. Go ahead, send me an email. It is josh.kashorik@5q.com, and we'll set up a time, just a free time to talk and see what you have going on and potentially how we can serve you. Thanks again so much for your time. We have recorded this and we will be sending out the recording in the next day or so. So thank you.